Here. Bolin.
Present.
Gathing is absent. Johnston.
Present.
Verrett.
Present.
Williams.
Don't hit me.
Okay, we have a quorum. Would you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Look at the flag.
Oh, it's on the wall.
Two of them.
It's on the wall over there, too.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now please stay standing. We would like to invite Mr. Juan Diego to come up. He's going to give us the pledge in Spanish.
Yo prometo lealtad a la bandera de los Estados Unidos de América y a la república que representa una nación bajo Dios indivisible con libertad y justicia para todos.
It's hot in here.
Okay, moving on to the superintendent's report. And we can have instruction, but we're going to put that off for later in the agenda until some folks arrive. Anything for finance?
Good evening,
Good evening, Mr. Lewis.
Board President, Board members, Superintendent. Happy to report that I don't have an extensive report this evening. As I discussed at the last regular board meeting, we are continuing the work that's going along with our external auditors and making headway in reviewing and eliminating some of the internal audit findings from the previous audit. But at this juncture, I'd like to yield for any questions that anyone may have for me for finance or operations.
Are we still on schedule to have the audit in December, January?
Great question, Mr. Bolin. I did request an extension through the Regional Office of Education on behalf of the auditors. Normally the auditors do it for us, but knowing that the audit is due by December 15th and where we are in the audit schedule, I requested a 30-day extension. We're still going to be working toward as feverishly as we can to wrap up the audit, but I'm going to speak openly and publicly. The issue is really not the school district with the untimeliness of the audit. I've experienced this now for the last 4 or 5 years. CPA firms are having a very hard time retaining qualified staff, so they're just spread very, very thin, and that's what's holding things up.
And it's a new group, too.
And it's a new auditor, correct?
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions of Mr. Lewis from the board? Thank you very much, Mr. Lewis.
Quite welcome.
Ms. Fountain, HR personnel.
Good evening, Board of Education, Dr. Walters. I just want to give a few legislative updates from the HR office. We meet every month with Bashu to give us these legislative updates that the district must put in place. So we have SB 1468. This extends a retired teacher's ability to substitute 120 paid days or 600 paid hours in the classroom, and this would be effective as of June 9th, 2023, which that already took place. We also have Senate Bill 1872, which reduces teachers' tenure from 4 to 3 years. And in addition, changes for the RIF notices usually has to be 45 days before the end of the school year. Now there's a set date for April 15th. Also, I wanted to talk about it was effective August 11, 2023, regarding teacher resignations, that they must give 30 days before the first day of student attendance. Senate Bill 1488, which is going to be effective August 31st, 2025. No candidate completing teacher preparation programs are required to pass a teacher performance assessment. And finally, House Bill 3116, which will be effective August 20th, 2024. And I will forward this to the school board. It requires that every 2 years, a school board shall conduct in-service training on homelessness for all school personnel. So the school board may work with a community-based organization that specializes in working with homeless children and youth to develop and provide the training. Again, that is going to be effective August 20th, 2024. And those are just some of the updates for HR. Are there any questions?
Any questions for Ms. Fountain? I don't see any. Thank you very much, Ms. Fountain. So we'll move ahead to the principal's report and ask Ms. Jackson to come up and share with us what she can.
Good evening, Board President, Dr. Walters, and everyone else this evening. We are so excited to see everyone. Can all of our King staff please stand? Thank you for coming out to support, and thank you for all that you do every single day for our superheroes in training. Our theme for the year is superheroes. Everyone has a superpower, and our goal is to encourage our students through high expectations to soar in every area, inside and outside of school. Soar means to demonstrate self-control, stay on task, achieve, and respect. We believe that when students soar, they are displaying their superpowers. We've created a short presentation for you to see some of the wonderful activities taking place at King headquarters. We would also like to celebrate Dr. Walters today. You have sacrificed so much of your love, dedication, and time to everyone around you. Here are a few students who simply love and appreciate you for being a great influence in their life.
Oh.
put on the Instagram, and you see me all up, heard it, did it, cheering us on, coming up back, whoever be as a kid, you know.
The reason I love her so much is because she's like the go-to person. Like, she always knows what's going on. Like, we meet her, she knows her team. Like, she's like another mom to us.
Thank you so much because we live life as a caring story. It's like we live life like yourself. You care about everyone. You care about yourself. Yeah, and you're just like so giving, helpful, and caring for others. Like you always make sure it's like you just haven't said. God's gift. After watching me live, we love how you raised he is now to this day. And how we watched us grow up as little kids, little kids. I thank you so much. Without you, I would not be graduating right now.
That's the truth.
Have a great after working life. Honestly, kick your feet up and relax. Maybe they're in college. Before college. Good luck, man. I pay attention and I love your attention.
It's not over.
They
Not
don't
over.
even talk.
I would say one of my favorite moments with my mom would probably be going to the gym and she rebounded for me. You know me, she's the one who got me running, working hard, doing my schoolwork, having good grades I had. So I just want to say I love her. Thank you.
Thank you for all that you have done for our district. And here is a gift from King.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson. That was very, very poignant. Thank you.
That was really good. Thank you. Okay, I just have to say, I didn't even know they talked that much. Most of the time, I'm doing the fussing, and they're just doing the listening.
Rachel, green, I give you the green thing.
You have it. What do you? Oh, this. Sorry.
Aha.
I lied.
Okay, we're in public comment. And I would invite Luke Shepard to come forward while he's coming up. Please give your name and direct your comments to the president and the board. The president will recognize members of the audience who wish to make comments to the board regarding any topics related to school district business. The board will take all comments under advisement without discussion, which means the board will not respond tonight. It's a member of the public raises an issue or concern that requires follow-up, the board president or superintendent will do so in a timely manner. Please give us your name and direct your comments to the board. No personal attacks are allowed, but comments are limited to 5 minutes. All individuals are to conduct themselves with respect and civility towards others. Your turn, Mr. Shepard.
Good evening, Board.
Good evening.
Mr. President, Dr. Walters. So, a couple months ago, I came and brought up a situation at the high school. In the past couple weeks, I was gone when everything happened, but I seen that there was $90,000 put for a second jump in the new building, which is great. It's going to supply or be great for the hundreds of jumpers that will use it throughout its lifetime. Going back to my, I'll say, road for safety, I hope you guys can find another $90,000 for that road to safety. I do believe it is needed, and I hope you guys will act on that. Second of all, You guys have seen it. I hope you've seen it. It was a great show, Hidden Figures. The 3 women in NASA who were just outstanding, and they were part of the backbone of NASA getting the the men to the moon. There's one scene in there, although it is different, it is the same in my opinion, that we have bright, brilliant students in the new the trailers at the high school. And only thing I can see is, I can't think of her name, Taraja Henson running from the bathroom in the rain back to her office, and they're yelling, "Where is she at? She's never here." And she's always wet when she's coming back. That being said, I can see our bright students doing the same thing, having to run to the high school when there's a rainstorm, a snowstorm, to have to utilize the bathroom. One thing for men, different for women. Women have different issues than what men do, and I don't think they need to be doing that. I have been to golf outings, and I know when we say porta potties, we all know what porta potties are. But I have seen portable trailers that some of those bathrooms are nicer than the bathrooms in my house. That I guarantee you. I think it would behoove us, until that project is done, to bring in one of those trailers with those restrooms so they have it right there where they're at, so they don't have to run to the high school building, the main building, to utilize the restrooms if they have to. That's all I got. Think about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shepherd.
Do you want me to explain that? Instead of waiting, just explain it?
Sure.
About the porta potty?
Yeah, if you want to.
It's up to you.
Yeah, that's, I guess.
So I just want to clarify a few things. One is that once the back gym is finished, then there's driver's ed and there's the JROTC. They will go into the back gym. At least JROTC will. I don't know about driver's ed, but they will go into the back gym. And so we're just waiting for that to be finished. It should be finished by the end of November. The other thing I want to make sure everyone knows is that we spent a year looking for trailers. I don't know if you remember that it was very difficult to find trailers. A school called us at the last minute and said, "You have 24 hours if you want these trailers. Otherwise, we're going to give it to somebody else that also wants it." And so it wasn't a matter of we couldn't find trailer. It wasn't a matter of we didn't want trailers with bathrooms. We can't find them. And so it was an emergency to get those trailers out, and we had an opportunity to get trailers from another school district. And so that's just to clarify. In terms of, we are looking at options for going to the bathroom from the trailers, but it may not be an issue in a month. So.
Okay. Next is Jatori Ottman.
Hello, Board.
Good evening.
Greetings to everyone. So last week was very disturbing. I received a video of the board meeting, and it was very disturbing to hear Mr. Boylan, I'm sorry to say his name wrong, that you called someone on the board a hired hand. So it was very disturbing to watch, and we would like to know as a community what would be done about this, because we teach our kids to be fair all across the board, that we shouldn't say things, that we should be careful what we say, make sure we're not saying racist comments. So to see that it was sent by several students, so I'm just here to want to know how would that be dealt with and be taken care of. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Lee Flowers.
Good evening. So to start with, I have a junior high student and 2 high school students, and they have given me a giant list of things that they've been concerned about over the last few months since school has started. Also was the bathroom situation. I have a daughter in JROTC, and running back and forth to the school when they're already holding it because they only have 4 minutes to go to the bathroom. in between the rest of classes, and the teachers don't like for them to leave during class. So that was a huge thing. Also, in terms of the bathrooms, many of the bathroom sinks and soap dispensers don't work in the bathrooms. There are several bathrooms that smell strongly of sewer at the high school and the junior high. I know this has been brought up every year for years. There are no feminine products available in the bathrooms. We live in a low-income area. A lot of our girls, the only place they have access to feminine products would be at school. And it would be nice if they had access to free pads and tampons and other hygiene products. Let's see. All right, so moving on. We have spent a phenomenal amount of money on sports and sports equipment and sports facilities. And this is a school which is meant for education. And our library seems to be lacking something called books. My daughter's teachers are constantly on her about her AR scores, but there's no books available. How is she supposed to get her AR scores up at the high school with a minimal options of books that are within her reading range, because she's at a higher reading range, that are considered acceptable? And I know you're looking at me like I'm crazy.
No, I just didn't know that they did AR at the high school, that's all.
Well, it's just like STAR test reading.
No, I know what it is.
No,
Mr. Brass can talk with you, because I didn't know they did that at the high
okay.
school.
So, and school is about education and more than just sports, and people in the community keep going, oh, that's just how it is at every school. But the sports are going to end, and the rest of the students are going to need to keep going and succeeding. So the main focus of all this stuff on the sports facilities is kind of very discouraging, especially for a student like my daughter who is trying to go to college, and then she's going to school and she's getting taught minimally 10 minutes and then sitting there bored for the rest of her class periods. She has teachers who give her assignments and then sit on their phones the rest of the day. But yet, if they pull their phone out, then they get in trouble. My daughter is also, she's very discouraged because she tested low in math, which across the board, students all across the nation are testing low in English and in math because they are roughly 2.5 to 3 years behind due to COVID. And so what is being done besides going, go to Twilight? There's nobody there's nobody helping them get caught up. We're just still moving forward, but nobody is saying, okay, this is where you're really at. So, and then at Twilight, they're supposed to have food offered to them. There's not. The vending machines most of the time aren't working or are stocked with foods that they can't afford. Which brings me to the food situation, which every single year everybody complains about. But at the high school, they have one line for the main meal. That line is so incredibly long that the students get in it, and by the time they make it there, there is either not enough food or they don't get to eat because there isn't time. There's 2 lines for the junk line, which is pizza and hamburgers every single day. There is never any other option. And they get canned fruit instead of fresh fruit in that line. There are mounting food costs. I don't know if you guys know that there's mass inflation, and there is more people in our community on food stamps than most of the state. It is ridiculous, but because we've lost the funding, or whatever it is that these kids aren't allowed to have more than one piece of pizza that is this big. These are teenage boys. And so everybody I know has $50, $60 all of a sudden in their accounts that they have to pay. I don't know if you guys know what blessings in a backpack is. Our district has been always a very high receiver because we have very low income families here. But at the high school, we are charging these kids tons of money just to fill their bellies, but this might be the only place that they're eating.
Time's up.
Okay.
Dr. Brass is the principal. He's right behind you. He could actually talk with you about some of those high school issues.
Okay.
He's literally right behind you. Okay. Dr. Brass, can you talk with her?
Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, that brings us to the consent agenda.
She's here.
Oh, the TNPT. Okay, we'll go back to instruction because I understand our presenter is here, if we can. Thank you.
Hi, how are you?
Good evening, Superintendent Walters, members of the board, members of the community. Just wanted to come here today. Sorry for being late. There's several accidents coming from Chicago, but thank you for rearranging for me. I wanted to give just a quick update to the board around some of the work that we're doing at TNTB and propose some additional recommendations at request of some of the school leaders in the district. So for this board report, the first page is just talking through some of the findings that we found in spring of 2022 on our scorecard. That was the foundation for how we chose to partner with Kankakee over the last year. Since we did the scorecard, we saw huge gains with grade appropriate assignments, which is making a big difference. And we've seen, I believe in the last few weeks, data was presented to the board about the growth that we've seen in student achievement and the growth percentile for our students. We do believe a lot of that has to do with the strategy of our school leaders and Superintendent Walters, and even Dr. Fountain. The work that you've been relentlessly working towards for the last several years is starting to pay off, and we want to continue to partner with Kankakee. This year, we have engaged in multiple opportunities to support schools to strengthen instruction in their buildings to ensure that teaching and learning is good quality for kids. So that's taken form in a few different ways. Professional development for principals to be able to norm on and agree on what does strong teaching look like. We supported school leaders around doing professional development around high expectations for staff this past week. And then we worked over the spring and then the fall of this year in 2023 to bring the Good to Great teacher training program. And that's something that TNTP does. It is intensive coaching, and we did that with the junior high school and the high school to support teachers in a short period of time to be better planners and executors of teaching. And so we were able to have a group of students at both levels participate in that. We're still gathering the data for that, but from school leaders and teachers that participated, our survey data indicated that they felt like it changed their instructional planning and execution from their participation in that program. And then we launched for the first time walkthroughs with principals, where we had an opportunity a few weeks ago to get into classrooms side by side and partner with our school leaders to really look at classrooms to see how are we providing kids access to the 4 key resources that we talk a lot about at TNTP, and then to plan out based on their SIPs, what are they going to do next, and to really support them in that thought partnership. As a result of some of this work, we've seen, and when we come to the last page is kind of a recommendation, we've seen school leaders ask for additional support with helping to coach teachers, and we've had the opportunity with Illinois Empower Funds to be able to fund projects like this, which would allow us for TNTP to come in and coach teachers monthly and also provide training for the school leaders to think about how do we start to coach our teachers to see more effective teaching that will in turn lead to higher scores on state metrics. So our goal of that additional programming with the 4 schools that have asked, Mark Twain, King, Steuben, and the junior high school, we'd love to have that opportunity to be able to support school leaders to build those structures within their school to see long-term results, and then also to coach side by side the teachers in the interim for us to make even bigger gains. We feel that Kankakee is positioned at this point for us to really see some sharp student achievement because of the groundwork that we've been laying for the last several years, and to just build on that foundation of growth that we've seen thus far. So I wanted to make that request to the board because I think it'll just continue to build on the impact that we can have together. So,
Okay.
Any questions?
Any questions from the board on this important issue? Anybody down there? Deb or Eric? Well, thanks for making the effort here. It sounds like it was a little treacherous, but we're glad you made it. Thank you.
It was worth it.
All right.
Thank you so
very
much. Have a good evening.
All right, back to the agenda, the consent agenda. Are there any items on the consent agenda that anybody wants to pull from the consent agenda or has any questions about? Hearing none, we need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Moved.
Moved by Ms. Barones. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Johnson. Any further discussion? Any discussion? If not, please call the roll.
Barones,
Yes.
Johnston,
Yes.
Verrett,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Bolin.
Yes. 6 ayes, 0 noes. The motion passes. Next is old business, which is the superintendent search update. I'm pleased to report that the search team interviewed 14 out of over 30 applicants last weekend, and they have some proposed applicants for us to interview, and we will be doing those interviews the week of November 13th. We're not sure which days yet. We're still trying to juggle between a board meeting and interviews. But it's, by their account and by my observation, we're moving very well. We are consistent with our timeline that we set, and it will be an exciting time to get to know the applicants that we'll be interviewing that week. Information and proposals. You see the financial reports in the previous bill run. Any questions on any of that? Hearing none. The last thing is the calendar notes. An LAA day coming up on the 30th of October. And student intervention days, that's what we used to call parent-teacher conferences. Is that right?
Well, the schools they should not have a traditional parent-teacher conferences because the state said we couldn't have parent-teacher conferences, I want to say 7 or 8 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah. So there should be students in the building working with either the teachers or parents. Because I think the APT, academic, what is it called? Academic, the academic meetings with the parents, you can, APTT. So you can have those, but we can't have traditional parent-teacher conferences. I'm reminding the administrators too.
Right. And if the parents out there are invited to come to an APT meeting, I strongly encourage you to do that. It's very informative, and it gives you ways to help your children achieve. And the last thing I would like to comment, I don't see Ms. Petty here, but the Hispanic Partnership Program was last Friday. There you are. My compliments to you. I've got a note sitting on my desk to you, but I wanted to say it publicly. I walked in, was told by one of the teachers, there's no room for you. And I said, I'll find a room. And she was right, there was no room. It was standing room only in the auditorium, and by standing room, it was 3 deep in the standing area. The performances by the students and the exhibits by the students were amazing. The teachers who participated in that and worked with their students did an incredible job, and it was a wonderful night. And I want to compliment you. I think the engagement from parents and the community was phenomenal. It was a great, great time. So congratulations. I see our band rated 3rd at the Raider Romp. Was that what it was called? Marching band was performing last Saturday. So. Football team is going to the playoffs. Soccer team won the regionals and has a game tomorrow night. So things are moving along in the school district. Need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Barones. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Johnson. All in favor, say aye.